Life is complicated. I killed people, smuggled people, sold people. Perhaps here, things will be different.
Now, the first GTA game that I actually played was GTA 5. I'd always known about the series as my dad had the original PS1 game in our collection, and I'd also watched him play Vice City and Liberty City Stories on the PSP. I was never allowed to play it myself though. The closest I got to playing GTA growing up was Simpsons Hit and Run on the PS2 and then Saints Row the Third on Xbox 360. I remember there being an insane amount of hype for GTA 5 when it came out. It was all the lads at my school were talking about for a good few weeks. Eventually FOMO kicked in, and after some pestering I managed to convince my dad to buy the game for me. I dove straight into the campaign, engrossed myself in the sandbox and had a really fun time playing it. Most of my fondest memories of the game though come from the online mode that I'd play with my friends. We would compete in playlists of custom races, we'd troll random players online, and then just have shootouts across Los Santos. I hold a lot of nostalgia for this moment in time. Over the years though, I've had a few friends say to me that GTA 4 is way better than GTA 5, or it's actually the best game in the series. And I've seen many people online share a similar sentiment. If anything, it actually seems like the popular opinion amongst the wider gaming community. And to be honest, when someone first said that they thought it was better than 5, I kinda smirked at the idea. In my head, I'd think they're blinded by nostalgia. Surely the game that came out many years later and had a longer development time wouldn't be worse than its predecessor. So I decided to finally play GTA 4 and find out for myself. Is it the best game in the series and better than the sequel? Let's find out. Grand Theft Auto 4 is a 2008 action-adventure game developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games. It was released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 consoles in April 2008 and for Windows later that year. It is the 6th main entry in the GTA series, following 2004's Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and the 11th entry overall. Following up on San Andreas was so daunting that Rockstar president Sam Houser publicly called it a nightmare. To pull it off, Rockstar North ballooned from its core 220-person team to a massive global army of over 1,000 developers. Key developers worked grueling 12-hour days, completely sacrificing holidays and weekends to hit deadlines. By the time development ceased on April 21, 2008, the budget blew past $100 million, making it one of the most expensive video games ever produced at the time. The team completely ignored the Liberty City map from GTA 3. They wanted an entirely fresh, massive, vertically dense caricature of New York City. Between 2005 and 2007, 60 to 70 developers flew to New York for intensive research. They were driven around neighbourhoods like Washington Heights by real ex-police officers who used to work those exact beats, and the team took between 100,000 and 250,000 reference photos on location. The neighbourhood, Hove Beach, was explicitly modelled after Brighton Beach because Sam Houser loved its unique Eastern European cultural footprint, which perfectly fit the game's protagonist. Writer Dan Houser famously stated that Liberty City wasn't just a map, it was the biggest character in the entire game. The final script was over 1,000 pages long, requiring 660 actors to record a staggering 80,000 lines of dialogue. Unlike previous games that had heavily copied movies, like Vice City mimicking Scarface, Rockstar avoided movie influences. They wanted something 100% original. Niko Bellic was designed to be an emotionally complex anti-hero. His clothes were meticulously designed based on real photographs of soldiers from the winter wars in Yugoslavia and Chechnya. To focus purely on Niko's story, Rockstar stripped out the popular role-playing features from San Andreas. They felt that forcing a hardened war veteran to constantly visit the gym or eat burgers to stay fit felt completely out of character. When Rockstar released the highly anticipated debut trailer in 2007, the sheer volume of traffic completely crashed their servers. When users re-uploaded the trailer to other video sites, many linked it to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, effectively inventing the Rickrolling internet phenomenon. On launch day alone, GTA 4 moved a mind-blowing 3.6 million copies, bringing in $310 million in just 24 hours. Within its first week, it generated over $500 million from 6 million copies sold. This didn't just beat analyst expectations, it completely shattered the opening week records of any movie or book in history at the time. By 2013, it had tapped out at over 25 million copies sold, making it one of the best-selling games of its generation. Upon release, the game achieved immediate legendary status, securing a 98 out of 100 on Metacritic, and still to this day, it holds the crown as the second highest rated video game of all time. Before I get into my thoughts on GTA 4, I just want to give a quick shout out to On Gaming magazine. I've had posts about their journals pop up on Instagram for a while now, and I was always interested, but I never bit the bullet and actually bought copies myself. After I uploaded the first couple videos on the channel, I thought I'd fire a shot in the dark and message the company and ask if there was any way they'd be interested in sending out a couple of copies if I then spoke about them on the channel. So here we are, I'm talking about them. Now these magazines are genuinely really cool. The print quality is amazing, the writing is thought-provoking, and even if you don't enjoy reading, the artwork inside and outside is beautiful. It's something that would look great on a coffee table and instantly make you look like a sophisticated yet geeky gentleman. Or gentlewoman. There are different covers that you can choose from. Now I went with the Cyberpunk edition of Volume 1 and then the PlayStation edition of Volume 2, but there are so many others that you can choose from. If it seems like something you'd be interested in, I'll put a link to the website on screen now, and I'll also put it in the description of the video. And also, one last thing, please go and follow Klaus on Instagram. He designed the thumbnail for this video, he's redesigned all my old ones, and he's also going to continue to make thumbnails for the rest of my videos. He does some great art. Please go and give him a follow. Anyway, let's finally get into my thoughts on GTA 4. The game serves as a reboot for the franchise, taking place in a fictionalised universe that parodies the real world. This version of Liberty City is broken down into distinct areas based closely on real-world locations. Broker is based on Brooklyn, Dukes is based on Queens, Bohan is based on the Bronx, Algonquin is based on Manhattan, and Alderney is a neighbouring state based on New Jersey. I thought it was a really great open world for a video game, and I enjoyed the dark, gritty atmosphere of Liberty City a lot. There's obviously less variety than you have in Los Santos and GTA 5, but the world feels more compact and efficient to traverse. I would have liked to see more rural areas on the outskirts of the map, just for more visual variety, but I understand the choice to keep it urban and have the aesthetic be more focused. There are distinct visual and atmospheric differences between the different boroughs, so it's not like the world is just copy and pasted city blocks. Each area feels unique and handcrafted. The game also looked great considering it was released in 2008. It was the first HD GTA game and it still holds up today. I do think it would be cool to see an updated version of GTA 4 that natively allows for higher frame rates and maybe improves some of the textures. Not that it's needed to appreciate the game, I just think it would print money for Rockstar and it would encourage more people to experience Liberty City. I haven't played the earlier GTA releases, but from seeing gameplay, I think I might struggle to feel immersed in Vice City or San Andreas just because I don't hold the same nostalgia for the games that the original fans of the series do. That being said, if you want me to go back and play any of the GTA games, let me know down in the comments. Now, there are a lot of great things to talk about with GTA 4, but the standout for me has to be the characters. First of all, the player character Nico is an all-time great video game protagonist. He's a serious, self-reflective character with a very troubled past, but he's also got a really dry, witty sense of humour, which especially shines the later you get into the game.
Ho, there he is, Mr. Fucking Crazy Man. You want a beer?
No.
Good, cause I ain't fucking got none.
Very funny. Maybe if being a drunkard doesn't work out, you can be a comedian.
Fuck off. And you, Kate, fuck off out of here.
Just seeing some of his automated replies to emails when you access the computer would make me chuckle. At the start of the game, I thought he was going to be quite a simple character, but as the story progresses, you start to unravel more of his true personality. He really goes on a journey throughout the runtime of the game, both physically travelling across the different boroughs of Liberty City, but also spiritually and philosophically due to the choices he makes and the realisations he comes to. I'll go into it in more detail later on when I discuss my thoughts on the story, but I'll just say I was pleasantly surprised at the emotional depth Nico's character possesses. He's definitely up there as one of my favourite player characters, and I think he's way more memorable and interesting than the three from GTA 5. That being said, I haven't played the GTA 5 story since 2013, so it could just be the recency bias talking, but I feel like in 13 years time I'll remember more about Nico as a character than I do with Michael, Franklin and Trevor right now. It's also easier to develop a connection with Nico when he's the sole focus of the game, and not having to share the playtime with two other people. But even still, I just think he's a complex character with a really strong personality. Since I'm already comparing him to other Rockstar protagonists, I will say he's nowhere near the level of Arthur Morgan for me. I wouldn't really consider that a criticism though, as I don't think any video game character will be able to top the emotional connection I felt with that man. It would be like saying, this football player is great, but he's not quite Lionel Messi. At the end of the day, not everyone can be the GOAT, but I'd still rank Nico very highly. It's not just the main protagonist that's great in GTA 4 though. So many of the characters you're introduced to throughout the journey have their own unique, interesting personalities that range from steroid junkies to corrupt cops to drug-fueled mafioso. I'm not going to be able to talk about every single one of the characters in the game, but let's go through some of the ones that stood out to me. Let's start with Roman, Nico's cousin. He's one of the main reasons Nico makes the journey over to Liberty City, as he's been sending glowing letters back home selling the idea that he's living the American dream with fancy cars, big houses and attractive women. When Nico finally arrives, he sees the reality. He lives in a small apartment infested with cockroaches and runs a taxi firm. He's also being harassed by various criminals who he owes money to due to his gambling addiction. I grew to quite like Roman. He's basically the yin to Nico's yang, but he's definitely a liability and not someone I'd want to hang around with in real life. Then you've got Brucey, one of Roman's best friends. He is an absolute nut job, but again, I grew to like him, mainly because I'd enjoy hearing the playful, homophobic taunts that Nico would throw towards him and Roman. There's never a dull moment when he's around, as he's hyped up on a ridiculous amount of steroids. I still remember one moment where Brucey called me asking to link up and do something, and we went to a cabaret show.
Alright, man! Cabaret? Is this the shit they made you watch in the Red Army, bro?
I couldn't think of anywhere where Brucey would be more out of place, but it was an interesting outing. Patrick I did like, but out of the characters you can develop friendships with in the game, he was probably the least memorable and the one I felt the least connection with. If you look at the McCrearys as a whole though, there are some really interesting personalities within that family that lead to a lot of great missions and moments. Patrick does seem like he'd be a cool guy to have a beer with, and I'd definitely rather hang out with him in real life than Roman or Brucey. I won't be calling him by the nickname they use throughout the game though, as it's pronounced the same way as a racist slur here in the UK, and I don't want to be clipped out of context.
Packy, take care of Derek, he's been away.
Dwayne is one of my absolute favourites. I will protect that man at all costs. I feel so sorry for him. He'd been locked up, and when he got out, he lost his place in the world. His closest friend, Playboy, didn't really seem like he had time for him anymore, and his girlfriend from before was now sleeping with an old associate. His sense of purpose and meaning evaporated, causing him to become depressed. I also feel like he and Nico are very similar, and I love seeing their chemistry in moments. It helped Nico show his softer side and ability to empathise with others. I'll get into the crucial choices I made in the game later on, but I'll say now that if you sided with that wet wipe, Playboy, over Dwayne, you need to take a long hard look at yourself in the mirror. Team Dwayne for life. Bernie, otherwise known as Florian Kravitch, is someone we were introduced to later in the game, and his storyline I found very interesting. I've seen a few people online say they're worried that GTA 6 is going to go woke, but to those people I'd ask, have you actually played GTA 4? There's a whole mission where Bernie experiences a hate crime because of his sexuality, and Nico chases him down on a moped and kills him.
I'm about done with you, homo! Ah! Ah! Oh!
Why don't you pick on someone who'll fight back?
What's your problem, fag lover?
Whatever you say, buddy. Unfortunately, for hitting my friend, I'm going to kick the shit out of you.
Ironically, the mopeds that both Nico and the bigot are riding are called fagios. There's also some dialogue between Bernie and Nico at one point where Nico says he doesn't care that Bernie is gay. What he does in his free time is up to him. What he finds disappointing is the fact that he's with a man who's sneaking behind his wife's back and living a lie. He's a politician who runs on traditional values and has homophobic views, yet he's in the closet himself. It's not their sexuality that Nico disapproves of, it's the hypocrisy and deception. This is quite a progressive outlook, especially for 2008, and it made me like Nico even more as a character. So yeah, to anyone worried that they're going to ruin GTA 6 with woke nonsense, GTA has always had progressive moments. I think GTA satirises both sides of the political spectrum, but usually tries to hold a mirror up mostly to the side in which the pendulum has swung. Now let's talk about my favourite character in GTA 4 and someone who has become one of my all-time favourite video game side characters, Little Jacob. This man is a vibe. He's such a nice, peaceful guy who, at the same time, would go to the depths of hell to help you if you're ever in a confrontation. He speaks in a very thick Jamaican patois, and seeing this representation in a video game was really cool. I couldn't help but laugh at some of his dialogue. It was brilliant.
It's Nico.
Nico? Yeah, me bleach hard last night, you know. The soul come out, that's what I...
What?
What, Nico?
Hey,
Glad to see the man, you know. I have to mind my Roman.
Roman. He's okay. He's still waiting for his big break, eh?
Big break. Sure, I promise I'll comfort to a fool in a Nico. A boy for creep before him can walk, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go for a little drive. Come.
I could have played a whole game that was just Nico and Little Jacob going around Liberty City and doing jobs for people, or even just a spin-off game that focuses on Little Jacob and his close friend, Real Badman, getting ridiculously stoned and completing drug and arms deals around Liberty City. I know people often make the joke about who would be in your dream blunt rotation, but if I were doing a dream blunt rotation for video game side characters, Little Jacob would be the first one invited. Now who else would be invited, I hear you ask? I'd have to go with Zoltan from Witcher 3, Charles from Red Dead Redemption 2, Withers from Baldur's Gate 3, and Polo from No Man's Sky. I bet that Gek weed would blow your socks off. Now I'm not going to go through every plot point and mission that happens in this game, as it would take me forever and I think it would become pretty tedious, especially if you're already familiar with GTA 4, so I'll just give a brief overview and then discuss some of my most prominent thoughts. The story follows Niko Bellic, an Eastern European ex-soldier trying to escape a dark, violent past. As previously mentioned, he is lured to Liberty City by his cousin Roman, who has been sending letters home claiming to be living the ultimate American dream. But when Niko steps off the cargo ship, he discovers the harsh reality. Roman has been drastically exaggerating. As the narrative unfolds, Niko's journey is driven by two parallel goals. The first being to protect his family. To keep Roman alive and clear his massive gambling debts, Niko is forced to use his military skill set. He begins taking on dirty work for local thugs, loan sharks, and eventually high-level mafia bosses, sinking deeper into the city's criminal underworld. The second is the search for revenge and redemption. Protecting Roman isn't Niko's only reason for coming to America. He is secretly hunting for a ghost from his past, a man from his old military unit who committed a devastating betrayal during a wartime ambush a decade prior. As Niko navigates shifting alliances between rival gangs, corrupt government officials, and the Italian and Russian mafias, the story builds towards a massive moral crossroads where the player must decide what matters more, money or principles. Now if I'm honest, the game starts a little slow and I was worried during the first couple of hours that the story wasn't going to grip me. You start in the boroughs of Broker and Dukes, protecting Roman from Albanian thugs and doing jobs for Vlad to keep him off Roman's back. Vlad was a slimy sack of shit and I'm glad that we finally killed him after he crossed the line and slept with Mallory, Roman's girlfriend. You're then introduced to Mikhail Faustin and his partner Dmitry Raskolov, who Vlad used to work under. They hold Niko and Roman hostage before eventually using Niko's skills to carry out jobs and hits around the city. This is where the story started to click for me, as I could see Niko rising through the ranks of the criminal underworld, and I was introduced to more of the shady characters from that dark underbelly. Mikhail, like many other characters in this game, is a drug-fueled maniac and someone I didn't like or trust from the moment I met him. Foolishly, I quite liked Dmitry and actually trusted him. When he asked me to kill Mikhail to prevent the outbreak of a gang war, I was fully ready to do the job for him and let him take control of the operation. I thought he was level-headed and would be better to work under than Mikhail, so I was genuinely shocked and disappointed when he betrayed Niko and partnered with Bulgarin, Niko's old employer, who wants Niko dead because he thinks Niko betrayed him on a trafficking job that went wrong. They burned down Roman's apartment, causing him and Niko to go and move in with Mallory and Bohan. From this point on, it's so hard to break down my thoughts into a coherent structure, because the narrative and characters are all strung together in an interconnected web. We're introduced to Manny, Elizabeth, the McCrearys, Playboy, Dwayne, a shady government official under the alias United Liberty Paper, and the Pegorino and Gambetti crime families. You run around the city doing dirty work for these criminals, government officials and corrupt cops, all while trying to keep Romans safe and track down the traitor who had betrayed Nico and his fellow soldiers. You're forced to make some pretty big decisions along your journey and decide the fate of a few different characters, often picking between two prominent figures. The first is a small one early on in the game with negligible consequences. You chase Ivan Kapkov, Vlad's associate, across the rooftops of Broker. He ends up dangling from a rooftop and you have to decide his fate. I chose to save him, which meant I had a random encounter with him later in the game, during which he gifted me $1,000. I think I made the correct choice here. Any enemy of Vlad is a friend of mine. After meeting Dwayne, he tells you about his ex-girlfriend Charisse and a new boyfriend who had taken Dwayne's money while he was in prison. You have the choice between killing or sparing her. I chose to kill her as she was a two-faced hoe who betrayed my friend Dwayne. If you spare her, there's a chance of a random encounter later on where you can beat up her new abusive boyfriend. I'm pretty happy with the choice I made. Francis McCreary, the corrupt cop, asks you to execute the gang leader Clarence Little. After fighting your way to the rooftop, Clarence begs for his life, saying he'll change his ways. I decided to kill him as I didn't trust him and I wanted to get the job done for Francis. If you spare him, he shows up randomly later in the game and pulls a gun out on you, forcing you to kill him anyway. Now we start getting into the real juicy decisions, the first being whether to kill Playboy or Dwayne. Now I've already said who I sided with in this situation. Dwayne is one of my favourite characters and someone I hold a lot of empathy for, but I was never really a fan of Playboy. I didn't like his arrogance in the way he spoke to Nico. He felt entitled to money and success and wasn't prepared to be loyal to someone who had supported him on his come-up. Dwayne, on the other hand, had been locked up, forgotten about and betrayed by the people close to him. He'd become self-reflective and quite depressed. Playboy felt like he could walk all over him, and I didn't like that. You also get the advantage of getting access to Playboy's apartment if you kill him, which is always a bonus. I did a poll on my YouTube community and 73% of people also voted that they sided with Dwayne. The next decision is deciding between two of the McCreary brothers, Francis and Derek. Francis is a corrupt cop who abuses his power and uses Nico to silence the people who threaten to expose him. He wants you to kill Derek as he's concerned he's going to rat him out. Derek is the oldest of the McCreary siblings and has a bad heroin addiction. He calls you on the way to the meeting between him and Francis and exposes his fear that Francis might do something to him. He asks you to kill him. I chose to kill Francis as I didn't like his arrogance and hypocrisy. He was using the knowledge of Nico's previous crimes to blackmail him. Derek was a degenerate and a mess, but he was honest about who he was. Francis was living a lie. I'd take an honest criminal over a crooked cop any day. This did mean that I missed out on $10,000 and lost the ability to call Francis to remove my wanted level. However, I never knew about that mechanic anyway, so I wasn't really missing out on anything. Surprisingly, 82% of people voted that they sided with Francis in the poll that I posted. I know Derek was a smackhead, but I can't believe people would rather keep Francis alive. That must just be to keep the ability to remove your wanted level. The penultimate decision is one that the whole game has been building to from pretty early on. You discover that it was Darko Brevic who had betrayed you all those years ago, so you leverage your newly made contacts to track him down and get him brought to you. I have to quickly say that I did find it pretty cool that the guy was called Darko. Nico questions him and discovers he betrayed his military unit for only $1,000, all because some members had hurt some of his neighbours. He seemed to be in a bad way and ready to die anyway. In this situation, I chose to kill Darko. Not because I felt like revenge was the correct solution here, but because upon meeting him, I felt sorry for him and almost wanted to put him out of his misery. That was my own personal headcanon anyway, but definitely not the way the game saw it. After killing him, Nico reveals that he feels empty inside and it didn't make the past go away.
I mean, I don't know. I feel empty, okay? I feel empty. That's something. At least. No, Roman. It's nothing. The emptiness is what I was trying to get rid of by finding Darko. I've been empty ever since that day. I thought that revenge, killing Darko, might fill me up a bit, might give me some substance. And it hasn't? No, it hasn't. Does that make you happy?
If you spare him, Nico feels relieved after breaking the cycle of revenge. On a second playthrough, I probably would spare him as I think it's the more satisfying conclusion for Nico. However, I think the way I justified the murder in my head still makes sense, it just wasn't written that way. The finale of the game has you making the biggest decision yet, which also has the most impactful consequences. Jimmy Pecorino asks you to swallow your pride and oversee a highly lucrative drug deal with Dimitri, the man who betrays you earlier in the game and has constantly threatened to come after you. Roman is keen for the deal to go through to help secure a wealthy future, but Kate asks you not to betray your principles. I don't think I've mentioned her yet, but Kate is Patrick's sister and a love interest for Nico. If you take the deal, Dimitri betrays Pecorino and takes the drugs for himself, forcing Nico to fight his way out with the cash. At Roman and Mallory's wedding, a hitman sent by Dimitri tries to assassinate Nico, but Roman is accidentally shot and killed. Kate is angry that you took the money over your morals and refuses to speak to you again. Nico pairs up with a grieving little Jacob to track down Dimitri. Nico ends up executing Dimitri beneath the Statue of Happiness. You get a $250,000 bonus. Mallory calls you later, devastated, revealing she is pregnant with Roman's child, who will now grow up without a father. If you choose to go after Dimitri, you infiltrate the cargo ship and kill Dimitri right there and then. Jimmy Pecorino is ruined and furious. Because you didn't take the deal, Pecorino's criminal empire collapses. Out of raw vengeance, Pecorino drives past Roman's wedding and sprays the crowd with gunfire. He misses Nico but shoots and kills Kate McCreary. Out of shared grief, Nico and Roman team up with little Jacob to take down Pecorino, who is now hunkered down at an old casino. Nico pursues him to Happiness Island and executes Pecorino. You do not get the $250,000 cash bonus. However, Roman calls you later to say that he and Mallory are doing well, and if their upcoming baby is a girl, they plan to name her Kate in her honour. Now, I chose to kill Dimitri, and after looking up the alternative conclusion, I would say I probably got the happier ending. Well, happier in the fact that it's more honourable, as my choices meant that Roman survived and is still in his child's life. I don't think it's the best ending though. I think the alternative would have had a bigger emotional impact, as Roman would have been killed at the wedding, and the finale would have involved me going after Dimitri, someone who I already had negative emotional ties to due to the build-up earlier on in the game. I was sad that Kate had died, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the gut punch that I think I would have got if Roman died. I also didn't really feel much towards Pecorino, as he wasn't a true antagonist until right at the end. I almost feel something as impactful as the finale should have just had the best written sequence that contained the most emotionally impactful ending. I almost feel like I was punished for making the right choice. Now, spoilers for Red Dead Redemption 2, so skip ahead to here if you haven't played it. But at the end of the game, you have the choice between helping John escape or going back for the money at the camp. Whatever choice you make though, the ending is the same. Arthur dies. There are differences in how he dies depending on your honour level. If it's high, he gets a peaceful death watching the sunset, but if it's low, he is executed by Micah. Either way, the game has been building to that emotional payoff of Arthur dying, and if you choose the most honourable path, you get a really touching ending that left me in tears. In GTA 4, I'd argue you get the more impactful ending by sacrificing your principles and making the less honourable choice. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that personally. I was left a little bit underwhelmed. I think I'd have preferred that Dimitri escapes even if you choose to go after him and kill him. He then shoots Roman at the wedding and you have to go after him for the finale. I think that would have had a stronger emotional impact, but I guess by having the different paths it increases playability. As someone who is only going to do one playthrough, I didn't like that my choices led to what I would consider an inferior ending. I guess it's my fault though, as I picked the honourable choice and then got upset that I got the honourable ending. But even still, it tainted my experience slightly, so I thought it was worth mentioning. All while you're making connections, earning money and moving your way up through the criminal underworld of Liberty City, you'll also bump into random strangers around the world that act as spontaneous side missions. Some characters appear multiple times, creating mini plotlines that happen in the background alongside the main story. I had a random crack addict walk up and hand me $100. I helped Marnie return home to her family and give up selling a body for heroin. I helped Jeff discover his wife was cheating on him and subsequently get rid of the body after he murdered her.
You're just like all the rest.
My favourite random interactions though were with Pathos, the conscious rapper. Now, I'm a big fan of boom bap, conscious hip hop, so I know a lot of personalities that match Pathos's character, and it meant I ended up connecting with him and quite enjoying his appearances. He was often being harassed or trolled by people, and I felt sorry for him. In my headcanon, he goes on to be a really successful rapper and makes songs referencing a strange Eastern European man who helped him on his come up. Overall though, I really enjoyed the story of GTA 4 and I would say I preferred it to GTA 5. It was dark but also incredibly funny and they managed to balance those two contrasting tones perfectly. I think it was helped by the incredible cast of characters that all featured incredible voice acting. I mean, there are 3 or 4 characters that will easily go down as some of my favourites in gaming. I would happily replay through the story again and I'm excited to see where they take some of the characters in the DLCs when I get around to playing them. The gameplay mechanics are where we get into my biggest criticisms of GTA 4. I know Rockstar isn't known for having the most incredible gameplay. There's a pretty popular video by Nakey Jakey that discusses how Rockstar's game design is outdated. It's worth seeing if you haven't already, but considering my first real experiences playing Rockstar games with GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, this felt like a step backwards, which would make sense as I have stepped back in time. The combat just felt so clunky and lacked any fluidity. I didn't really enjoy a lot of the shootouts, especially the ones where I died and had to redo the mission. There was a good selection of weapons, but none of them really stood out to me or were satisfying to use, apart from maybe the combat sniper. It's not much better in GTA 5 to be honest, but the cover system worked a lot better from what I can remember, and the weapon selection wheel made switching weapons so much more intuitive. Red Dead Redemption 2 gets some flack for its combat mechanics, but I enjoyed it. It felt satisfying when you'd use Deadeye and see your bullet take out an enemy in slow motion. I know some people will say, well, it came out in 2008, it was good for its time. But the thing is, Gears of War 2 came out that same year and had way better combat that felt fluid, and it also used a cover system. I did enjoy a couple of the shootout missions, like the one where you join the McCreary's on a bank heist and then have to shoot your way through the streets. However, I think my enjoyment came from the stakes of the situation and the writing of the sequence than it did from the gameplay itself. Also, the fist fighting really was awful. It was so clunky and unintuitive. I hated the moments where I was forced to go into melee combat. I think it was much improved by the time Rockstar made Red Dead Redemption 2. The missions were all very linear and gave you no real chance to experiment with how you would tackle them, but that is also the case in later Rockstar games I've played. I think the mechanics themselves, not being as satisfying, made it harder for me to look past the basic design of the missions. In Red Dead Redemption 2, I could get over it because at least I would enjoy myself when a gunfight breaks out. It was satisfying to take out a gang of enemies in combat. Whereas in GTA 4, it was harder to overlook the linearity of the missions because the gameplay moments within them weren't that enjoyable. To be fair, the driving actually grew on me. I know it's pretty divided on whether people prefer the arcadey feel of GTA 5 or the more grounded approach in GTA 4, but I did appreciate how the driving felt more realistic. You could really feel the weight of the vehicles and it meant some were hard to control. But when you did become comfortable weaving in and out of traffic, it was really rewarding. Now, I know it's the hipster choice to say you prefer the driving in GTA 4, but I loved custom races on GTA Online and I wouldn't change those driving mechanics at all. I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages and I think they fit their games well, but personally I preferred the driving in GTA 5. That might also be because I played that game primarily with a controller and playing GTA 4 was my first time driving in a video game on keyboard and mouse. Now, one issue I had that was definitely due to me playing on keyboard and mouse was the helicopter piloting. I didn't realise quite how painful it was trying to fly a helicopter with keyboard and mouse. I had tried to do it a few times when playing Battlefield 6 multiplayer and it had never gone well, but I just assumed that's because I was still getting used to keyboard and mouse. I'm pretty comfortable using keyboard and mouse though, and I've got comfortable with both driving and shooting mechanics, but Jesus Christ, the helicopter piloting was abysmal. The final mission took me like 2 hours and I was so close to giving up. I must have died 15 times, and the issue is that the helicopter section is right at the end of the mission, and when you die the mission basically restarts. This meant I was using up all my ammo, and after a few restarts I started dying in the earlier section as well, as I didn't have strong enough weapons to get through. Thankfully, after failing for a couple of hours, I decided to just connect my controller and use it for the helicopter section. And after doing this, I completed it first time. This isn't really a criticism of the game, as after looking it up, it seems like helicopter piloting on keyboard and mouse is a nightmare across the board. But it did nearly ruin the ending of the game for me, as I got so frustrated that I just wanted it to end. I was emotionally drained by the time Nico was killing Pegorino. The dating, friendship, activity mechanics weren't something I was too fussed about either. Bowling I couldn't really get a feel for, and pool was genuinely painful. I don't understand how you meant to strike that ball cleanly. I'd either hit it with no power at all or way too much. Darts was the opposite, as it was way too easy. I got a 180 on my first 3 darts and completed a 6 darter in my second set. In GTA 4 they do 301 instead of 501. But I just had no real desire to go out and do all the activities and build my relationships with people. I understand these are minigames, so I can't be too harsh on them, but they weren't enjoyable at all and I actively avoided them. If little Jacob or Dwayne called me saying they wanted to hang out, I struggled to say no, but that was out of my love for those characters and not because I actually enjoyed doing the activities. I didn't even realise that you unlocked abilities when increasing friendships with characters. I think the only one I actually used was calling Roman to send me a cab. I've also got to quickly mention how broken the police were at times. I can remember so many examples of me crashing into a police car full speed and it didn't trigger anything. It's not the end of the world, but it did break immersion a little bit when I'd T-bone a police car and there were no repercussions. To be honest though, I don't think I used all the mini features of the sandbox to its full potential. As a kid, I would have explored the world for hours, not even focusing on the missions, but just testing the limits and boundaries of what is possible within the world. As I was playing this game with the intent of wanting to get a video out, you could argue that I wasn't exploring everything that I could have and fully immersing myself in the world. But at the same time, I just didn't really feel encouraged to do this because some of the things I came across, like the pool or bowling, felt absolutely awful to play. I did enjoy customising the ringtone on my phone, there were some absolute bangers to choose from. Overall, there were some decent gameplay moments, but they were few and far between. The driving is the only mechanic that I think you could argue is actually good, and even then I actually preferred the more arcadey driving in GTA 5. If I were to replay GTA 4, I wouldn't be looking forward to the missions, I'd be tolerating them because I want to re-experience the story. Now, before I finish up, I need to talk about one of the strongest aspects of GTA 4, and any GTA game for that matter, the radio stations. Funnily enough, at the start of my playthrough, I was genuinely considering muting the music in-game, as I was worried about there being copyrighted music in the footage for this video. In the end, I decided I'd rather experience the game in its full glory and have less usable footage with in-game audio. I'm so happy I made this choice, as driving around Liberty City with the music blaring is one of my favourite things to do in the game. I could see myself booting up GTA 4 in the future just to go for a drive around the city and listen to some music. If I had to give a top 5 stations from the game, in number 5 I'd go with Jazz Nation Radio 108.5. You've got Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane. It felt like I was living in the world of Whiplash when I had this station on, and I loved it. Number 4 would be The Classics 104.1. Now, I love me some classic hip hop, and the vibes with this station were great. It felt very New York. I loved the Gang Starr and Main Source tracks. In number 3, I've got The Beat 102.7. You've got some more contemporary hip hop on this station, and there are some great selections. Nas, Mobb Deep, Ghostface Killer. The real heavy hitter though is including Kanye West, Flashing Lights. What a banger. It also features the song Spit by Saigon and Static Selector that includes the lyric, "My guns snap, crackle and pop like Rice Krispie." It sounds like something left on the cutting room floor from one of Roll Safe or Unknown P's Fire in the Booths. In number 2 we've got Tough Gong Radio. I'm a fan of reggae and more specifically a massive fan of Bob Marley, and this station is 90% Bob. I still remember finishing up a drug deal with little Jacob and driving back to drop him off and Rat Race came on the radio. There couldn't have been a better song choice in that moment. It was a station I had on repeat. And then in number 1 I've got Fusion FM. I couldn't tell you any of the songs from this station, and the only artist I recognise looking through the track list now is Roy Ayers, who actually also hosts the station. The vibes were incredible though, and I need to add all the tracks from this station into my playlist ASAP. This was the station I'd flick back to the most. It was a beautiful blend of jazz funk, jazz fusion and acid jazz. It's a shame I can't play any of the music in this video, as it's one of the strongest aspects of the game and it wouldn't be the same if the selection wasn't as strong as it is. Even the adverts you'd get pop up while listening to the radio were really funny, and there seemed to be a good variety. It makes me really excited to see what the radio stations are like in GTA 6. That's if they even use radio stations and don't transition to a satirical version of Spotify or something. But if they do, I hope they have a really good southern hip hop station with some Outkast, Denzel Curry and Project Pat, as that would be getting tuned into every time while driving. I also want to quickly talk about the TV channels on GTA 4. I didn't watch a ton of it, but the few bits I did see were great. Republican Space Rangers had me laughing, and then I was very surprised to see a stand-up comedy set from Cat Williams and Ricky Gervais. Now that's 2 out of 3 hosts of the Ricky Gervais show being mentioned in my videos. I just need a game where Carl Pilkington makes an appearance to complete the trifecta. Now GTA 4 has some incredibly strong aspects, but some that I'd also consider pretty weak. I love so many of the characters. Nico, Little Jacob and Dwayne are characters that I'll always remember and will go down as some of my all-time favourites. Liberty City is a great setting that was dark, grimy and captivating, and the story kept me engaged throughout the whole playtime with plenty of twists and turns along the way. I just think it's let down by the gameplay. It's not exactly awful, but it's also not on the level of the quality of the other aspects of the game. A large percentage of the missions within the game involve combat mechanics, and I just don't think they're that enjoyable. If I were to replay the game, I think those sequences would feel like a slog. To be honest, they felt a bit like a slog at moments this time round. I mean, the driving is actually pretty good after I got used to it, and I can understand why some people actually prefer the driving in GTA 4 compared to the sequel. But in general, most of the parts where you're actually playing weren't as fun as they could have been. I think if you're someone who played it for the first time when it came out, I can understand why this game would blow your mind. I've seen gameplay from the original San Andreas and Vice City, and yeah, if you're comparing it to that, I think this is really innovative, and I think even the gameplay would be quite enjoyable. The issue is, I wasn't playing it for the first time in 2008, and I can't act like I didn't struggle with these certain aspects of the game. That being said, even though I have some criticisms, I do think this game should be considered a classic just because of how good the world building and characters are. For those elements alone, it is definitely worth playing. I just don't think it's worthy of being ranked as the second greatest game of all time like it currently is on Metacritic. Thanks for watching this retrospective essay on GTA 4. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps with it being suggested to other people. If you're not subscribed, then please do. I would love to try and hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. The next video will focus on The Last of Us Part 1 as decided by you guys on the poll on my YouTube community. I've actually decided for the next few videos, I'm not going to put up polls to help decide what game I play. I'm actually going to go based off games that have been suggested in comments on previous videos. So coming soon, expect to see videos on Half-Life 1 and 2, Halo Combat Evolved, The Outer Wilds and the Stanley Parable. And if you haven't already, please go and check out some of my previous uploads. I've got videos on the Portal games and also on the original BioShock.